I hope. Right, firstly, sorry it's late. I do usually do them Saturday night into Sunday morning. Truth is, I got distracted watching a programme about Challenger disaster, and then I lost internet for an hour this morning, so that's where we are. So, anyway, Wednesday against Ipswich, match review, and a few other bits and bobs. So before the game we talked about Ipswich and how they'd line up with this 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1, whichever way they want to line it up. And how would Wednesday match that? Would Wednesday change it up then? Well, no, we didn't. We kept with our 3-5-2 as well. And we'd got question marks about whether we'd put the new lads straight in. And we did. Wednesday continued with the back three themselves. Story came in onto the right hand side of the three. Harley Dean into the middle and Sam Hutchinson out to the left hand side. Midfield unchanged, Delabishiru, Bannon and Luongo. Mendes Lang and Marvin Johnson, possibly the surprise there, moving in onto the left hand side. Up front, news was that Gregory has got some sort of strain or injury, which, because we are saying this is Sheffield Wednesday after all. So there was a return to the starting lineup for Canberra and Josh Windass. Bit harsh on Palmer, yeah, possibly. Bit surprised that Hunt didn't get a look in, but again, it's horses for courses. We've got a lot of games coming up, and I'm sure Darren Moore's probably got one eye on that. So Mendes Lang on the right, Johnson on the left, perhaps a bit of a surprise, but Shiripo's out with his hamstring. There's talk about him being sent back to QPR, so makes sense. Let's have a look what they can do in their proper positions. Every week I tell myself I'm not going to do a minute by minute match review because the folks can go out and see highlights. So I'm going to try not to go through minute by minute, but I find it hard. The little interesting things that I see. But anyway, the first interesting thing that we sort of see is a bloody Wednesday goal just after 5 minutes. It's great work on our right hand side. Windass comes back, wins a tackle. Little 1-2, slips Mendes Lang away. Head up, beats his man, puts a cross in. And Johnson gets in round the back, and that is the good thing about this system. When it's done right, that's a good thing about the system. Your extra defender, your extra third centre half means you can get both full-backs on at the same time. I mean, all right, Kevin Keegan used to do it with a back four, didn't he? And leave two at back and lose games 4-3. But Mendes Lang gets on, great cross into the box, Johnson round the back door, and the pleasing thing there is it's how much ground he's made up. Years ago, I used to listen to radio when Mel Sterling used to be co-commentator with Seth Bennett. Remember that? Zico would always on about one thing all the time, and that was players not working hard enough, and he used to have that. He always used to say one phrase, Seth, they've got to be busting a gut to get in the box. Well, Johnson, he were really busting his gut to get in box there. Now that is a great team goal, but that is also a right finish. A right finish, because high ball coming over like that, you're running in at speed. So easy to skank that. A great team goal. I don't think he's getting enough individual praise for that. That is a fantastic finish. To keep that down, to control it back across the goalkeeper as well. All that in a split second. Getting over ball, because we've all seen them a million times. And they get straight up and over. The control to get over that ball, a really high ball coming over like that, it's so easy to get underneath it. It's a magnificent goal to keep that down and guide it back across goalkeeper. Fantastic. Can't get enough credit from me. Brilliant technique. Fantastic. That game's a bit flat for me. Wednesday's got this 1-0, it's very good, and Ipswich are having a lot of the ball. Now, we talked in preview, I'd been reading up on their manager, one of these young coaches, 35 years old, got a style of play, likes to get the ball down and play it out from the back, and that is what they did. Almost to, I would say, a boring extent. Some people enjoy that, it's the modern way, moving the ball about, side to side, up and down, back to goalkeeper. I'm old-fashioned, I've not really got any interest in that, and we saw Wednesday doing that in early stages of the season. Fortunately, since then, we've learned to mix it a little bit, and we were going longer. Story, who I thought had a very assured game at right side of centre-half, not afraid to try and pick a long pass out. Wednesday themselves were pressing, but not always from the front. Sometimes we were pressing from the front when they were fanning around near their goalkeeper, but often we were trying to win it when they got towards the centre circle. And Wednesday were comfortable. They'd had all the ball, but I thought we were really comfortable. I thought that the tone was set by Wednesday with Canberra. I thought he absolutely worked his socks off yesterday in closing down him and Windass up front, putting themselves about. And as I said, that first goal comes from Windass tracking a man. Talked about it in that Sunderland game. One thing I can't stand to see is when players aren't tracking. Lose possession, track, mark, tackle. Takes his man back, wins the tackle, 1-2. Mendes Lang into the box and we scored that goal. But it was a bit of a nothing game, I thought, at that stage. 18 minutes, could have possibly got a second goal. The one goal wins the ball. Tucked in the Oxford game, he likes that rangy pass. Finds the ball over the top. Canberra does really well to get after it. There's a split second as it bounces, and I thought maybe take it on volley as it's coming back up. But he cuts back inside and he just loses his foot in a bit, and it's just enough for their man to get back. It's about 20 minutes in, but that's the sort of game it is. Just them having plenty of the ball. And in fact, I thought the player who probably had most of the ball for them were their right-sided centre-half, which tells its own story. Wednesday have a little spell, maybe 20 to 25, 30 minutes when they keep winning the ball and squeezing on quick and counter-attacking almost, even though they're at home. But the way Ipswich had set up had allowed us to play a sort of counter-attacking style. Mendes Lang did really well, good footwork. He does that great thing, and I love to see it. You don't see really enough of it, really. And it's that thing, and it's very simple. It's not a particular trick or a skill. It's just when they play a little 1-2 with their own feet, left to right to left, and just get past the man. Mendes Lang is fantastic at that. Did it time and again yesterday. Did it on about 20 minutes. Got inside, cut inside his man's. All right, the shot nearly goes over cheese quarter and ends up on Lepping's lane. But great footwork, getting inside, not afraid to have a shot, and that's what we need. Because the one thing we're not doing is scoring enough goals. Just after that, we're attacking, and one of our moves breaks down, and they get a counter. There's a foul on Luongo, so everybody sort of half stops expecting to get it, and ref don't give it, so they're on the break. And Dean, debut, middle of that three, just takes him out. Yellow card, takes one for the team. I was like, yes, somebody who will take one for the team. Too many times in the past we've been soft. That kid would have been away there, would have been honest Wednesday and chased him back manfully, you know what I mean, until the edge of our box in his slipstream. But no, saw the danger and just took him out. Yellow card, deservedly so, but good. Second half, it's much like the first half. It's a lot of Ipswich having the ball and Wednesday being quite comfortable and saying, well, you can have it there. No worries, have it. Right-sided centre-half, into midfield, back to centre-half, back to keeper, out to other centre-half. And Wednesday were quite happy to let Ipswich do that, and they didn't really change it up. I was really surprised with that, and I do think there's a lot of this. You get it with these younger coaches especially. There's a way of playing. I don't know if they've all... How old is he? He's 35, so 10 years ago, he's in his 20s. That's when you're taking a lot of influence, you know. It's when Barcelona are ruling the world, and I think everybody, the young coaches, just have this thing of, this is how you play football. I've said in a lot of these videos, you know, you can get called a dinosaur, but I'm not afraid to see a long ball now and again. In fact, sometimes I quite enjoy it if you turn teams round. What gets me to the edge of my seat is excitement, right? And the thing that excites me more than anything else in a football match is seeing the ball near the edge of the opposition box. I don't get excited when I'm seeing the ball played around the edge of my box. Then that's the same for every fan of every team in the country. They weren't really causing us that many problems. The lad Mizuni did a really good turn and drove on 30 yards and got through our midfield at one point. But again, their final ball lacking, and Wednesday looked quite comfortable. The back three, really impressed with them. Dean especially, I like the few times that they did have corners or put a cross in the box rather than fanning about with it. Up there, heading. In fact, I'm not really into stats, but I'd be prepared to say that he probably had a ball more than anybody else yesterday. And that we've been crying out for someone who'll do that for 2 years, 3 years. I'll just head it, not bothered. Another thing I like with him, and Storey weren't afraid to do it either, by the way. I thought he had a very assured game right side of centre. I thought he were very good. They weren't afraid. Bang, it can go into north stand. It can go into south stand. Not bothered. That back three were really, really good. A couple of times he did get towards the edge of the box and Wednesday couldn't quite get a toe in and stuff like that. Bravery. Hutchinson's probably made 3 really quality defensive blocks where he's got his positioning right, so he's not fouled the man. And Dean, I mean, at one bit he stops one of their lads trying to play a chipped forward pass. Just hits Dean full in face. Don't even blink. Yes, that's what I like. Big, brave centre halves. I thought Wednesday were very comfortable. I've seen 1 or 2 things last night though. I've been on Twitter and I've been on various forums and whatever, and I've seen Wednesday's midfield coming in for a little bit of stick, you know, that Bannon wasn't at his best like he usually is dictating a game. If your game plan is to let the opposition have the ball because they're not particularly doing anything with it and you can capitalise on them having it and giving it away in a silly area, you don't particularly have to have someone dictating the game. When you know, if you're having all the ball, yes, you'd expect players like Bannon to be controlling the game, but Ipswich had most of the ball and it suited Wednesday, so I've no problem that he wasn't particularly dictating in the way that we know that he can. Equally, Luongo, Delabashir, who's been coming in for a little bit of stick recently as well. Adeniran's out, I'll come to that later. So I don't know who else people would want in there because Wing's not in favour. Byers has shown very little since he's come, so it's got to be Delabashir. 1 or 2 people saying put Hunting, don't send him on loan, but his energy in there yesterday, Delabashir, I think he's been very harshly dealt with. The energy in there in cutting out lines and passing options, that is that unseen work. So that when you've got the ball, people can see what you're doing. Oh yeah, he's having a good game. If you're spending 35-40 minutes of an half just shuttling about and blocking passing angles, people don't always see that, but it don't mean you're not having a good game. I thought the midfield 3 were very good yesterday, and I think they're getting sort of harshly critiqued, if I'm honest with you. Another fact about that is, if anyone's ever played centre midfield, when you're outnumbered in there, that is the hardest job in the world. Sometimes when the ball does come to you, you're completely fucked. We'll just look at this here. I've put the team out in the 2 formations that they played, but I just want us to concentrate on this central area. So we've got Luongo in there sitting, obviously doing the job that he does. Did it brilliantly again, by the way, winning his tackles yesterday. Perhaps not so much on the ball, but his tackles certainly. Bannon and Delabashir in there, but they're surrounded. Now, I'd heard Ipswich played a sort of 4-2-3-1 or whatever, or a 3-4-2-1. Chaplin and Selena were dropping into them deep areas and getting involved in this Ipswich tippy-tappy of the ball. But what it meant is there were times in there when Bannon, Bashiru and Luongo were just outnumbered, 3 against 4. Sometimes the centre forward, Bond, was dropping in as well. You can't completely dominate teams if they've got the extra man than you. You've got to be the best players in the world to do that. So I think, like I said before, they're in there, they've got a lot of work to do. Backinson for them was a very good player. Elmizuni was a good player. And Wednesday's midfield 3 had their work cut out in there yesterday. They really, really worked their socks off. And I don't think they've got enough credit for that. Mendes Lang with constant threat. Johnson on the other side with a constant threat. In fact, he could have had a second. A lovely shot from the edge of the box, probably a foot wide at the top end in second half. Mendes Lang, again, good feet. It weren't a penalty because I think it was just outside the box, but very unfortunate not to get a free kick right on the side 18-yard line there, because, again, that little thing where he plays a 1-2 with his own feet, left, right, left, he was causing them a lot of problems at the back. I think that one resulted in Bannon heading over the bar, but on the counter I thought Wednesday were very strong. Canberra, Windass, full of running, endeavour, making it hard for them at the back, and I thought Wednesday executed the game plan perfectly, if I'm honest. The only thing is, you would have liked to have seen that second or third goal, and we on another day I think we'd have had one. I think one of them chances, a couple. Bannon has a drive at the end, it's a really good strong hand from Walton, tip it round the post. Another day I think Wednesday win that game 2 or 3-0 in a match where Ipswich has probably had 65% at the ball. So I thought Wednesday executed the game plan really well. Full credit to Darren Moore, because I think he must have looked at that and the way they played and said, right, we'll let them have it and then we'll just go and squeeze them in little groups and packs. Palmer come on second half. I think that probably surprised one or two people, but we've got a heavy schedule of games coming up. Wednesday pick up injuries like no other team I've ever known, and so one eye on that. He's done really well. We've got the lead. We don't look in any danger, so let's save him for another day. And I fully understand that. Perhaps he could have brought Hunt on, but as I say, maybe Hunt's going to play the next match. We've got a thick glut of fixtures coming up, and you've got to keep your players fresh. So no problem with subs that he made. Man of the match. Difficult. I thought Hutchinson was really good. I really like Dean and his attitude, that old-fashioned attitude of, you're not getting past me, son, even if I have to take a yellow card. Like that, impressed with him. I thought Story looked really accomplished. Say he's a young lad, you know, in centre-half terms. Thought he would accomplish. Just that one time he sold himself in first half and lad got past him, but not afraid to clear his lines. Luongo is bowling in again. I've already talked about Bannon and Delabashir. I thought their energy and just blocking angles, because when you're outnumbered, that's all you can do. Right, cut off passing angles. If I got charging towards him, he'll just pick me off with a sideways pass. So I thought they were really good in there in midfield. Johnson, fantastic goal. Brilliant bit of tracking back, about 10 minutes in the second half, by the way. They'd got a lad called Byrne, and he had got turbo boots on. Johnson must have stuck back with him, must have chased him 50 yards down pitch to get a footing. That was fantastic to see. I love seeing out like that. Front pair, Windass and Canberra. It started from them and their hard work, really. I think they were the sort of the trigger, if you like, for the rest of the team and the way we performed. So I'd have to toss a coin between Hutchinson and Canberra, but I'll give it Canberra for the fact that he's been out for a month. He's had an operation. He then apparently had a bit of a setback, so he's further behind than he would like to have been. To come in and perform like that, I thought he played really, really well. Put him centre-back, very busy. And for the lack of sharpness, because he's not played for 5-6 weeks or whatever, I think he's probably unlucky that he didn't get a goal. So, good team performance, and Canberra, my man of the match.